Being a solo developer can be daunting. There's so much pressure on you alone. When embarking on a journey like this, you can easily lose motivation. It almost happened with me, especially if you've had zero prior programming experience like me. I just recently started learning the Unreal Engine UI, and man, is it a beast. I was holding off on it because I wanted to really learn Blender as much as I could before moving on. And I had to take a break from it because I'm almost done creating my assets, but I think those vertices would have driven me crazy if I hadn't taken a break. So for this episode, I wanted to explain how I integrated all of what I had into the Unreal Engine. The goal was to get my armor into Unreal, equip it to my character, and get him moving. Getting the gear in there from Blender was not that hard. I just needed to input the correct export-import settings from Blender to Unreal. The first chess piece that I got imported had no textures. It was all white and I was confused, but no worries. I eventually figured out that when importing and exporting between programs, most of the time the textures don't stay on, but they do import with the XBX file. You just need to add them to your model again. And man, I did not think that the gear would look even better than it did in Blender, because Blender is a beast. I mean, after you finish making something and putting all the textures on it, you could then switch to cycles. It just looks so real. But after it went into Unreal, I mean, it looked so amazing, especially in Unreal Engine version 5, which is still in beta, by the way. But after I got it in there, I wanted to see how it looked in action, because it's one thing for the gear to look good by itself and another thing to see it actually on a character that's moving around. So before I imported my own character, I put the armor on a standard UE4 mannequin to get an idea how it would work. And I was not disappointed. Everything looked so smooth, just how I imagined it. And it's got me so hyped trying to imagine how cool it would be on my own character. So after being mesmerized with just a mannequin and running around in the test map I created, it was time to finally bring my own character in. For this, I used a separate program called Reallusion. I don't know if you heard of it, but it's pretty much industry standard for many AAA and indie games combined. A pretty awesome program that has so many different assets that you can use specifically for game development. Reallusion is a 2D and 3D character creation and animation software developer with tools from cartoon characters to digital humans, and animation pipelines for films, real-time engines, video games, and virtual production. The character is core to Reallusion software in both 2D and 3D animation. I mean, unlimited characters at that. And here I was able to create all of my characters from each faction. I was even able to create the abominate creatures because the range of customization is so vast in the software. So you can make very exaggerated models, and I love it. So here's where I imported my character from to Unreal. And Reallusion is so cool because they have so many added features that allow integration to be easier than if you didn't have them. Like for example, the CC3 setup plugin for UE4 that once enabled allows for everything to be imported very clean and organized, with added features that helps if you like to add more attention to detail in your game. Like when your character is idle in game, there's a setting that allows for him or her to randomly blink, adding to the realism of your character. This is just one of many customizations that comes with the plugin. But believe it or not, I had issues with this as well. It never stops. You're always going to run into obstacles if you're in game development. I mean, it's just inevitable. And this one was a simple one, but it was like one of those problems that was hidden in plain sight that I just couldn't figure out. It felt like a nightmare because every time I attempted to import my character in the Unreal Engine, this happened. My character would always be extremely deformed. I tried readjusting the bones one by one, but it never really felt right. I wasn't satisfied. I even considered using a skeleton other than the Unreal rig. This means that I would always have to outsource and use animations specifically for the Reallusion skeleton, the one I was considering using. Here's how that was looking, and I really didn't like it, but I just dealt with it because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to fix it. It was such a headache, but I didn't give up because the Unreal Engine comes with so many advantages and animations that could easily be added if I just had that rig. So I tried again to import and allocate it to the UE4 skeleton, and I learned something very important here. Attention to detail when working in the Unreal Engine is essential. You need to pay attention to every single detail, every single step. This is in regards to when coding as well, because you would think that you've done everything right, but one misplaced node or one step overlooked could cause the whole thing to just not work. This is what happened with my character. When importing him in, I missed one step, and that was not checking the time zero box right here, because the rig is important. Having the correct skeleton is the key to getting every single animation you want to retarget from the endless UE4 mannequin library, and simply being able to get your character moving. Once I followed the instructions correctly, I got him in there. Everything was working perfectly and he was ready to be fully integrated the way I wanted. Now comes the hard part, and where the coding aspect comes into play, something else I knew nothing about. But I started finding tutorials on YouTube about how to get my character moving. I could have easily just retargeted the rig to the standard mannequin's animation, but I want to be different, you know? In the game dev world, it's very easy to recognize when someone's using that mannequin's animations. So what I had to do was find some animations that felt right and retarget them to my character's rig. They also had to be unique. Once I did that, I then had to blueprint the functionality of basic movement. But in order for it to look good and natural, there needs to be what you call a blend space, so that when moving around in different directions, the animations would blend accordingly. There are blend spaces for everything depending on what you want to add. There's an aim offset blend space, one for crouching. I mean, the list goes on. I really want that aspect on my game to be legit. I think movement in a game is essential to its success and also people having fun while playing. Game feel in a nutshell. And for that, it's a whole nother discussion, and one I'll be talking about in my next episode. There, you'll be able to see how the movement will be in general and in combat. Most importantly, how it feels. All the details will come in my next devlog. I appreciate you stopping by, and if you haven't seen my previous devlogs, I suggest you check them out, man. They're pretty binge worthy. So here they are. I'll catch you on my next video. Peace out.